Hi there, and welcome to the latest edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast, which is brought to you by fans for fans, and where the content is absolutely free. It is a special preview episode tonight. We're previewing tomorrow night's game against Ajax in the Champions League. As I say to you every week, guys, it's not just the pod that we do here at Gersnet. I've got the website there, so you've got forums, articles, all that kind of stuff, history archive. We'd also ask you to put the word out there in social media. Let all your friends know that we're here and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Before I bring in my guest, Alec, I'll have to mention our partners we have a variety of partners now. Let me just pull this up. First of all, Forest Precision Engineering, who are a Glasgow-based engineering company and have been a commercial supporter of Rangers for many, many years. You can find out more about them at www.forestprecisioneng.com. They also have a lounge in the main stand, and an executive lounge. If you're interested in giving that a bash, email the club at hospitality@rangers.co.uk. Should also mention Zenith Coins, who produce the official Rangers Club coin. Each gold-plated coin has a unique serial number engraved on the outer rim. It comes complete with a Rangers presentation box and certificate of authenticity. They've also produced a 150th anniversary collection. There's only 1,872 of these worldwide, which are released in small batches. If you want more information on that, get onto the website at www.zenithcoins.com using discount code GN10. And finally, football prizes. This week they're offering the chance to win a Stephen Davis signed shirt presented in a bespoke frame, custom backdrop, and LED lights and inbuilt television. I was quite amazed when I seen this thing. It's got a telly built into it. Entry is £3.95. There's a maximum of 199 tickets available. The winner will be picked tomorrow live on the the Football Prizes Facebook page from 12 p.m. If you want to have a wee look at that, get yourself onto www.footballprizes.co.uk. So that's all our partners mentioned, Beck. I can bring you in. How are you feeling after the weekend?
Much the same as I look, mate. Just that bad.
You know as bad as that, aye?
Yeah, pretty brutal. If there's one thing that makes you feel even older than seeing your fat coupon up close on YouTube, it's getting gubbed at Parkhead. Yeah, pretty. It's just the way it's been gone for the last 10 years. I think it was good to get my feet brought back down to earth. I just started to get ahead of myself. We're in the Champions League again. Everything's going to be fine. Bang, Yeah. Absolutely brutal. Just terrible, awful, just a big hairy spotty arse of a performance. It was absolutely terrible, mate. And the worst, one of the many terrible aspects about it is I was so looking forward to going into the Champions League. It's just, you can get beat at Parkhead. This is one of these things that happen, but the way it happened is just
the manner. Yeah,
you had to remind yourself. Oh right, come on, we're supposed to. This is a historic moment tomorrow night. A historic club we're playing. It's a magnificent thing, but it's certainly taking the shine off that.
It's a manner of it, and it's the fact that it was almost like a carbon copy of the game in February, and it's like we've not learned any lessons whatsoever. So a bit poor, but let's try and remain positive because we are back in the Champions League. The first time in 12 years. Yeah. It's a big moment and a huge game. Against a big club. Do you like my shirt? Do you like that?
I do, mate. I do. Yeah, you've done that well. Because I've got the wee pennant at the back there. But as always, my thing's much smaller than yours, mate.
That's standard. I should point out it's signed by Ronald de Boer.
Was that what that is? I thought you dropped your tea on it or something.
No, it's signed by Ronald de Boer. So I stood when he was at Rangers. I stood outside the main stand after a game one day and got him to sign it. I got him to sign a Barcelona shirt as well. I've been meaning to get him framed for years, but I'm just lazy and miserable when it comes to spending money on that stuff. And
just on its own, that the Ajax strip is it's sheer class.
That's iconic, isn't it?
And see the Aben AMRO. That was the first team ever to win the European Cup / Champions League wearing advertising on their jersey, and that was the advertising. Used to see it at the fives all the time. Guys my age will remember in the 90s. After that, it was just Ajax, a club famous for their utilising space like no other Dutch club knows how to utilise space on the park. And they had the all blue away kit on that night against Milan and Vienna. And they had the Aben AMRO. Just thought there was no block on the shirt, just plain blue belt, kind of shadow pattern on it. But the Aben AMRO going down the way, just making you think about the red block, even when it wasn't there. I thought that's just they're just such a classy club.
Yeah, they are. I should point out that bank were partly responsible for the global crash in 2008, because it was RBS. RBS took them over, and that's when it all went tits up. But anyway, we digress. Let's get back onto the football. Match day 1, Champions League group stages tomorrow. So Ajax against Rangers, 5:45 p.m. kickoff at the Johan Cruyff Arena. Some wee match facts for you. Ajax are making their 5th consecutive appearance in the group stages of the Champions League, which is a club record. Rangers, we're returning to the competition proper after a 12-year absence. Obviously, with everything that happened in 2012, it's been a long road back. Last season's competition, Ajax have been quite strong in the Champions League over the last 5 years. Obviously, they nearly got to the final. Was it 2019, 20, something like that? They were seconds from the final. 2019, was it 19? Seconds away from the final when Spurs equalised. I actually think Liverpool against Ajax would have been a far better final. I really do. I was good.
Barca Ajax, mate.
Nah, I don't like Barca anymore. Anyway,
well, I despise them, but if you're talking about football,
so Ajax won all 6 games in the group in the group stages last season. They exited the competition at the last 16 to Benfica. So won all their games last season, scooshed the group stages, maybe giving us a wee indication of what we're up against tomorrow. Although obviously some players have moved on. So when we look at the odds, Ajax are 2-5, draws 4-1, Rangers are 6-1. Current form, Ajax have won all 5 of their last games, all domestic games. Rangers have only won 2 of their last 5. However, 2 of those have been in the Champions League. Previous meetings, we've officially only met them once competitively, which is in 96-97. Ajax won 1-0 at Ibrox. I was there that night. I was in the main stand that night. George Albert's missed an absolute sitter in the latter stages. I don't know if you were there that night.
I was there, but I don't remember that.
He missed a sitter.
That was just a terrible group altogether.
Yeah, and Ajax beat us. They pumped us 4-1 over in Amsterdam. However, we did meet them in 1973, which technically it was a friendly as such. Yeah, there you go. I've got both. I've got the home and away. So it was supposed to be a friendly and a centenary match, celebrating Rangers' centenary. But it was also unofficially the first European Super Cup final. UEFA wouldn't sanction it that season and didn't recognise it, but the following season they did. However, there was a trophy put up for it. A Dutch newspaper put a trophy up for the game between Rangers and Ajax in 73. Ajax won it. Cruyff, I think he was inspirational at Ibrox that night. I think they won, was it 3-1 at Ibrox, 3-2? 3-1 at
Ibrox and
3-2 over there. Yeah.
No.
So yeah.
Aye.
3-2
over there. Quentin Young, Alec McDonald, Ari Hahn and Johan Cruyff scored in both games. Quentin Young scored for us in the Olympic Stadium in Amsterdam, where I actually to play their big games. But you've got a great article about it, mate, up in your...
I've got a blog. If anyone... It's one of my most popular blogs as well. At least 20 folk have read it. So, it's really popular.
That's twice as many as mine. Stop boasting.
Honestly, I don't know
Colin,
what I'm honestly.
The history, that's yes, there you go. Never mind about, we're going to worry about Saturday, obviously, but the thing I want to celebrate is that's us back in the Champions League. We're playing Ajax, a reminder of the first ever Super Cup match, although it was retrospectively given that title, took place at Ibrox. It was Artemio Franchi. He was the president of, I think, UEFA at the time, who refused to sanction it as a Super Cup, as Ajax was suggesting, because Rangers were banned for Europe at the time. If there were we interaction with the Guardia Civil, if they were winning the Cup Winners' Cup in Barcelona. But Artemio Franchi, obviously famous Fiorentina stadium named after him. And when Fiorentina won the Cup Winners' Cup, the first ever Cup Winners' Cup final, the first match which took place at Ibrox, that wasn't sanctioned by UEFA, and it was Artemio Franchi, Fiorentina, going to UEFA and going, "Oh, come on, because we've won it. Can we get?" So they sanctioned that for them, And of course, the first ever night of the Champions League, 92-93, the first ever Champions League official night, Rangers Ibrox hosted that as well. So it's massive, totally mate, massive moment for us tomorrow. To be back at the top table, and I think I just can't believe the mood we're going into it in. To me, it was everything. Getting back to this stage, I think it's been so stressful the last 10 years. I don't need to tell folk why. I think that the hype, we all kind of thought when we're back in the Champions League, that's it. The journey's complete. We've done everything. And it's just, I actually had a civil partnership kind of celebration kind of wedding, if you like, the Ross County game last week. So I didn't go to Ibrox, the first game after we beat PSV, which is the most nervous I've ever been watching a game in my entire life, because I thought, this is it. If we can beat, and the way the game panned out, tight as anything, and we did it, I've never been so happy. And I was no bothered. I wasn't bothered. I wasn't going to Ibrox in the Saturday. I checked the score eventually, 1-4-0. I just felt, something, that's me, I'm done. I only need to support Rangers when we're in trouble and we're back. I can let them go. There's plenty of folk who'll take my season ticket. I'm not actually that bothered anymore. And it's almost like they were saying to me, is that right, Alec? Is that right? What if we get pumped 4-0 at Park? All right, I'm bothered. Stop. So I'm certainly back into it anyway, mate. Looking forward to it in the morning.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, obviously it was a disappointment at the weekend, but we shouldn't detract from the fact that we're back at the big time, and it's a huge tie. As
colossal.
When the groups were getting pulled out the hat for the draw, when I saw that group with Liverpool and Ajax, okay, Napoli got a great history as well, especially with Maradona and all that.
Amazing.
But Liverpool and Ajax in the same group, I was just like, I want that group. That's the group I want. You know what I mean? So I was delighted when it came out. It's a huge night, another huge night for Gio. I know he's under a bit of pressure now, and domestically there are definitely questions being asked about him, which I totally get and understand. In fact, I'm in that camp asking questions about his domestic sort of record. But in Europe, you would have to say, he's nailed it so far. And another big night from huge game. You would imagine he knows the opposition well, considering his background. And it'd just be great to get the campaign off to a positive start, especially after Saturday. And going into Pittodrie on Saturday as well.
We had this conversation, mate, outside Ibrox. Remember before on the eve of the game with PSV in Eindhoven, and we'd had that weekend. We'd had the 2 each with Hibs, which we're all massively disappointed in, dropping points at Easter Road and the way it happened. And I was saying to you, sometimes you get the impression that for Rangers to do what we're doing, to win a game of the magnitude and the difficulty of Eindhoven, because Parkhead on Saturday wasn't offering anything that we hadn't been through in Eindhoven. That was one of the other things about it. It's almost like subconsciously, I never think it's never deliberate, but subconsciously the players almost have to kind of take the foot off the gas in the domestic game or the game preceding a match of this magnitude. So I'm hoping again that that's what's happened. Apart from the fact that they should be out there fighting for their actual pride, professional pride tomorrow night, and that sometimes inspires you to a great result. But I'm hoping in this situation tomorrow night that what's actually happening with this team is they are bored domestically. They want the big games. I don't get why Celtic at Parkhead isn't a big game for them. I don't get why they wouldn't be totally up for that without even having to think about it. There was something going on Saturday. I don't know what, but the lack of mental preparedness was shocking. The lack of sharpness was absolutely shocking. But that's something we certainly haven't seen in the massive games. Europe, when we switched off in Belgium with a terrible performance, total non-performance, and a terrible result in Leuven in Belgium, but they made up for that. So I'm hoping tomorrow night it's the same thing. We're going to go and make up for Saturday, use that as fuel tomorrow night. Because, mate, this is everything to us. It's absolutely everything. I was joking about this on Twitter the day. It's almost like, let's go back to, we won the Cup, Winners' Cup. We get banned for defending it. We get banned for the competition for 2 years and got it commuted to a year. When we get back into the top flight after liquidation, that was a big thing. Get back into the top flight. Done it in great style under Warburton. End up losing the Scottish Cup final. A total debacle as a riot in the park. And it's like we finally get back into the Champions League and we're worst humping in an Old Firm game since before Gerrard arrived. It's almost like we can't enjoy anything. We've got
you predicting a riot for tomorrow?
Well, you don't have a riot with Ajax, by the way. They boys, they're handy, No, I think it's just it's like the Bends, mate. It's not just Radiohead's second best album. I think if you're coming up really quickly, you've got to decompress at times. Sorry to keep going on about it, but we're coming up for the third division and we're in the Champions League group stage in the space of 10 years. In a Champions League group, I mean, Liverpool, I'm of an age where it was Liverpool that dominated. The first European Cup final I remember, Liverpool won it. It was the first one Liverpool had won, 77. That's the first European Cup final I remember watching that as a kid. One of my earliest football memories. I used to go to the back door kicking the ball about. I was scoring for Rangers into the Cup, and that was my dream. For Rangers to go and play at Anfield in Europe. They're the British team, the European British team par excellence. And, Man United 3 European Cups, Liverpool get 6. It's an absolute dream to be in this stage. I just think to get from, the ball in the hedge and that pish, at Brecon, and to be here within the space of 10 years, there's going to be moments where it just, the whole club just seems to kind of decompress, just like, they need to take a breath. But Scottish football wasn't taking a breath. It's Manuel Tapia's and Saturday. So I hope it's that same thing where it's almost subconsciously been too much for us, how well we've done, and just get into this tomorrow night, because our record against, we're completing the tour. When Gerrard was taking us through the Europa League, out of Feyenoord, absolute epic over there, the 2 weeks, beat them at Ibrox. Willem II, one of our most underrated performances ever. During the COVID season, it was just a one-off game. We played them in the Europa League qualifiers, beat them 4-0 in Holland. And just an amazing performance. And then that's us done Eindhoven as well. So, there's the big 3. We're actually taking on the whole of the Netherlands over the last 3 or 4 years since we come back into Europe. And to end it with Ajax, who I still think are different gravy. I think it's something we should be enjoying the fact that we have this fixture. And I'm really going right back to, you should discuss this with Ross and yourself all the time. I'm going back to my kind of base attitude going into these big European games since we come back to liquidation, which is don't get humped, just don't make an arse of yourself, and anything after that for me is a bonus, because it's magnificent to be back in this stage, mate.
It's funny you talk about Feyenoord and PSV, because I said that to my boy when the draw was made. I was like, that's you completed the set. You know what I mean? You've done the 3 top ones in Holland. Well, he's going to obviously when they come to Ibrox. So yeah, a big thing. I mean, Ajax, as I said, they've performed really well in the Champions League over the last 5 years. Lost a few players through the summer there though, which Ajax routinely do. They build a team up. They do really well. They come within seconds of qualifying for a Champions League, and then they rebuild, and they're in one of those processes at the moment. It was interesting. I noticed that their boss, Alfred Schreider, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he seemed pretty keen to dismiss the Old Firm result of the weekend, saying he's not focusing on that. He was focusing on the PSV result. So even though Rangers do appear to be in a bad place at the moment, those comments would suggest to me that he sees there could be a sting in the tail here, that his team need to be aware of that.
Aye, you're never going to get an opposition manager saying, they get tanked on Saturday, so we should pish out them tomorrow night. It's going to be, he's obviously, and it's long enough that, like we saw with Liverpool, the team that we're getting in the Europa League. That's what this happened the weekend that I was at that wedding. It was just after we qualified, and I literally sat there the night we qualified against PSV, and I thought, I might never go back to see Rangers. They don't need me anymore. I'm done. I've put in my shift. I'm 53 now. I should have other stuff I want to do. And last Saturday, the team, the biggest team we've got in this Champions League group, won 9-0. And on the Sunday, the biggest team that we've got to place in the domestic situation, won 9-0. And it's like, Christ almighty. So, and Jurgen Klopp said that when he's doing his usual patronising stuff. He's a lovely guy when he's winning, Jurgen Klopp, and a bitter bastard when he's getting beat. But he said that about Scott Parker. I mean, you're getting a wee patronising pat in the arm and all that during the game. He said Scott Parker knew Liverpool had just got beat at Old Trafford. So that's the worst result possible for them, really, losing to Man U. So we should be doing the same thing tomorrow night. I'm not saying we're going to go beat Ajax 9-0, but we should be that same kind of bastard that Klopp is. We should have that same kind of, we bounce back for this in the best possible manner, and taking it in for this game tomorrow night would be that.
In terms of the squad, nothing really mentioned, and Gio's presser was quite late. Actually, it was. I only noticed it had been on about an hour before we came on air, so I had to sort of rush on and slightly tweak the agenda. No real sort of comments in terms of the squad other than the goalkeeper, which we'll come on to. However, I did notice Ben Davies was training with him today. He was spotted training, which is interesting. There's a wee chance that he could feature.
Aye, and maybe a wee chance for pushing where a man, oh my God, I forgot his bloody name. How bad is that? Aye, pushing Sands. There's too much kind of IRA-related stuff going on Saturday. Maybe I'm just forgetting that name as well on purpose. But maybe get him pushed up into a midfield that really struggled in Saturday. Didn't really exist in that game in Saturday. So I think we need to see something different. You know, I don't really care what position it's in. There needs to be a wee kind of kick up the arse from the manager and something a different couple of faces. I'm sure there will be. I can't see him starting with the same team that he put out on Saturday. But I mean, anybody we can get in, we can start seeing, because the board's come under a lot of heavy pressure just now as well, when they have actually signed 6-7 new players. Just they're all injured or they're all get personal problems that have stopped them playing. So we need to start seeing some of the stuff that Ross Wilson has been allowed to do. Some of the money that we have spent, because I think there's real dissent in the ranks just now. It's growing. I think a lot of it's OTT, but a lot of it's actually pretty on point. So we need to start showing that there's. You've said a few times, Colin, that you thought this team was coming to it reached its natural kind of end. This cycle of Rangers, and I was never 100% on board with that. But by Christ, what I saw on Saturday, it's always got to be an OTT. Yeah, it's always got to be. You can't just have a bad day at the office. That doesn't happen at Rangers. It's long term, and everybody's got to get sacked. It's but the level of non-performance on Saturday, and the fact that it happened in February as well, and we didn't seem to have learned for it. The fact that Celtic fans have actually, in the sickening close-ups before the game kicked off, you see we'll never stop. Celtic tell you what they're going to do, and we somehow couldn't cope with that. We seem to deliberately kind of switch off against a team who have told you to your face and from the stands, we're going to keep coming at you really fast. Yeah. Celtic have done that for decades, So I think the players need the proverbial rocket up them, and any kind of change in personnel tomorrow night would suit me fine, because we just can't be doing that again.
In terms of that midfield, can you talk about Lundstrom, because he was so instrumental last season, especially in that run to the Europa League final. But I genuinely think this season I don't want to say he started in a similar vein to what he did last season, but I don't think he started well. I think it's fair to say that.
Well, I think a game like Saturday definitely kind of colours your judgment of him. I think he's been fine, Colin, in the majority of games, but. And I think, God, what game was it? I'm struggling to remember. One of the home games. We're not conceding any goals at home in the league, But actually, like Steven Gerrard's 55 season, down to the actual teams are beating Kilmarnock 2-0, and we a few 4-0s as well. This is the kind of stuff we were doing at the start of that at Ibrox. We also drew away with Hibs that season and struggled at Livingston. But no, what happened on Saturday just completely changes that equation. But I think Lundstrom's done well in quite a few of the games this season, but and even within 18 seconds, just summed up the performance. If you told me on Friday night Lundstrom's going to go in there and within 18 seconds he's going to pick Kyogo out of the game and he's not going to get sent after him, I think that's brilliant. That's what John Lundstrom's there to do. He is the best on earth, and he did that, and it made no difference. You know what I mean? We just couldn't stop him at all. And I don't know if he get dunted. I've well played to you and the boys on Sunday night for watching the game back. I've not watched it back again. I really couldn't, but I don't know if he get dunted by somebody during the game, but he seemed to come right off the pace. One of the goals, he's letting his man get in front of him. Or Lundstrom kind of get in front of him. But there's a lot of that been going on after Sunday. Particularly the keeper who we'll talk about. We're trying to find one reason and one kind of. I know you're not trying to do this about Lundstrom, but we're trying to find somebody, be it Ross Wilson, be it John McLaughlin, be it Gio, whatever. Somebody's to blame for this. Get them blame, and it can't be an unsolvable problem, because we're all terrified of getting back to where we were in Old Firm games. But it's not going to happen like that. But I would have Lundstrom back in there tomorrow night, mate. As long as he's fit.
Right, on to Gio's presser again today. As I said, he was asked a few questions about players not coming in after the Champions League was secured, and I think there was a feeling we would be bringing someone in once that money was secured, especially when you consider the money that's come in through the sales of Bassey and Aribo and Patterson. I think there's a wee bit of money even coming in from Gilmore, for Billy Gilmore going to Brighton. I think there's been a bit of a sell on, some money's coming there. So, I mean, the money has been piling in, obviously the Champions League cash as well. And, he was very sort of, I'm happy with my team. No regrets about not bringing anyone in. And he started talking, obviously Calvin Bassey's in this team tomorrow. He started using him as an example, saying, that's what we're all about. We have players. We want to improve them. We want to develop them and make them better, and that's pretty much all we're about now. And I think someone referenced Sands as a possibility for that as well. So it's interesting that that seems to be the way that Gio's thinking, that he's happy with his squad. It's up to him to make these players better.
Aye, and as a Dutchman, I'm quite happy to hear that from him. To be honest, I know people are looking at it as an excuse. People aren't getting the reaction they want from Gio. They want him to be visibly hurting as much as the rest of us by that performance on Saturday. But Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, I couldn't tell you what he said in any press conference because he's so boring. Whether we're getting into the Champions League, whether we're reaching the Europa League final, or whether we're getting pumped 3 and 4 on the parkhead, I couldn't tell you a single thing that he said after. The only time I ever saw any kind of reaction from him I would have expected, if it'd been me in his place, was after the 3-0 at Parkhead back in February, where he had a look in his face like, right, that's me, I'm taking control now. I've gave these guys their head. That's Gerrard's team, they're doing all right, but that was unacceptable from now on. And it's like it started at half time, we thought that night, because we, a better second half. And then we went and won 5-0 against Hearts and 2-0 against Hibs in the next couple of league games. It looked like there'd been a kind of bounce back, and it was now Gio's team. And then the European run seemed to compound that. But for it to happen again on Saturday, I'm looking for him to be like as raging as the rest of us. I just don't think that's in his system. I just don't think that's how he works. As I said to you before, I think he's more likely to be an absolute psychopath than he is to be like a ranter and raver and a bit of likes a bit of a rammy. I think he's a cold hard killer type, and I think he keeps everything on a balance. Everything's analytical. We don't like that. The Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, if he's building for the future, that's okay with me. Dick Advocaat was the same. He was a bit more rumbustious and all that, and a bit, a good laugh and what have you, a bit more of a character. But Dick Advocaat won 2 Old Firm games by 4 goals, and he lost 2 Old Firm games by 4 goals. One of them, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, scored our goal in a 5-1 defeat at Parkhead. We went on to win the treble. We went on to win the league at Parkhead that season. Then obviously there's a 6-2 defeat, which started the Martin O'Neill era. And that started their domination for a few years, eventually get rid of Advocaat. And Gio played in that game as well. And I find that with the Dutch, I find that they're very good at winning heavily, and they're very good at losing heavily as well. We've all been talking about how Steven Gerrard, I think it was 3 times he lost a game by 2 goals. 3 different games, I think. And I think 3 different, one was in Europe. It was always, a lot of the games are really dour as well. I think it's just it's a Dutch thing. I think especially when they're coming to Scotland, probably when they're not in their own country, and it doesn't maybe affect them as much as it should. But it's also, they're a very cerebral country. The way they play football, Ajax, they're very violent, very physical.
Yeah.
But the way they play football, the way they set it out, very, very cerebral. They think these things through, and I'm hoping that's what's going on with Gio. And I think I would love to know their actual plans. But as I was saying today, I think Dick Advocaat is the reason we've got Auchenhowie. He insisted, I'm not coming to Rangers unless you build me a state-of-the-art training facility, because that's a disgrace not to have that. Mm-hmm. And Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, especially with Dave Voss there as well. And we've now got the guy, I don't know I can never remember his name. Sounds like Bola Jerry's.
Yeah, I know. I know you're on about.
We've got a guy from Man City as well. So they should all be about infrastructure and all about development. Colin, we went to, sorry, I'm a bit upset with the way things went on Saturday. We went to Tynecastle last game of last season against the team we were playing the following week in the Scottish Cup final. We put the Wains out and we beat them 3-1. We beat Hearts 3-1 at Tynecastle. I know it was a bit of a dead rub on what have you. Hearts maybe holding back because of the cup final. But if I'm actually in a situation just now where I believe in the trickle down, people keep talking about Europe being the league being our bread and butter. I know Dougie mentioned this on Sunday. I'm not going to go at Dougie. I love Dougie, great guy, and he always gives me a shout. And I think he speaks really, really well, and he backs up everything he says as well, which I think is always really important. But people keep using this phrase. I've seen it all over the media and everything. But the league's our bread and butter. The league's our bread and butter's a side dish. Rangers are, steak and chips. We want the. We're talking about the other euphemism dining at the top table. Because we're back in the Champions League. Exactly. And I have believed my whole life, if this is how we've got back to this situation, is through Europe. Steven Gerrard led the Rangers rebirth through European football, and you can't even rely on winning a European trophy every season, Alec, to get into Champions League. Bloody penalty kicks for doing exactly that last season. So I'm actually quite happy if this obsession that a lot of people have with youth every time we lose a game domestically is actually seen out by Dave Voss and by Gio. If they want to put something in place, if that is to be our model, because look at this club we're playing tomorrow night and what they do. I would be quite happy if we put the fucking B team out at Aberdeen on Saturday and we just kept, especially in this run, especially the World Cup squashing the programme, the schedule for the Champions League. I'd be quite happy if we put the first team out into Europe, let them do what they do, let them do what they only seem to be interested in doing, because I don't care about winning the League Cup if we're in a European group stage. And if it's the Champions League group stage, I'm even less bothered about what we do domestically. Obviously, you get to a point where if you're not winning domestically, you're not getting into Europe. But at this point in time, nobody gives a shit about, nobody else outside Scotland cares about who wins the league in Scotland. They watch it, it's the European profile that they're interested in. And I'd be quite happy if Gio can work something whereby Alec Lowry, Charlie McCann, are coming into midfield. Actually, I think this now needs them, and giving them the game time and developing them, because nobody knows like the Dutch. Barry Ferguson, was Dick Advocaat that brought on Barry Ferguson, one of the best players we've ever seen playing the Rangers midfield. And I'd be quite happy if there's some sort of long-term model they're putting in place, because we can't quite rely on, we don't have the money that the big leagues have got. And Ajax are the top team at doing this probably in the world. The Netherlands, population 17 million, it's 3-4 times the population of Scotland, but they've won 4 European Cups, Colin. They've won every European trophy going. One of only 6 clubs to do that. They've won and lost every European final there is. Well, 3 of them. We've got 4 now because of the Conference League. And the first Conference League final, it was Feyenoord that lost the final. And the Dutch just know how to do it, how to maximise what they've got. And you look at the roster of players that Ajax have lost this summer and the amount of money they're going for. Their supporters get every much more right to be outraged. They've only spent 23 million on Calvin Bassey and a few other players. They've taken in hundreds of millions this summer. But that's no comfort to me tomorrow night, because Ajax know how to change their team like nobody else, because they know how to bring on youth as well. And I think that's what we should start doing as well. Sorry, I'm going too long, mate. Sorry. It's been doing like that in the past.
Right, on to the keeper situation. I was speaking to John McCallum and David on the WhatsApp. David had sort of suggested that he thought McLaughlin might get dropped tomorrow, and me and John came in. I'm not so sure. However, I've been watching Gio's presser there. He was asked about he's number 1 tomorrow, and he was a little bit cagey. He just gave an answer along the lines of, after a bad result, a manager might look to change things, blah blah blah. And I kind of thought, listening to him, I thought, you've not said that McLaughlin's playing there. You've not said that he keeps his place. So, I mean, I'm not saying McGregor is coming in, but it seems to me that it's up for grabs.
Yeah, I think the most concerning thing for me, I could make excuses, or I could see McLaughlin as not being to blame for the first 3 goals. The 4th one, obviously, there's nobody else. That's just it's actually laughable. But the thing about it was, what was it, 78 minutes or something like that? We're kind of halfway through the second half. We'd blown away in the first half. We were never going to score. We could have played them on to something. We just never looked like we were going to score a goal on Saturday. But we had all that possession, and we were going to try and get back into the game. And Celtic hadn't been pressuring us, because Celtic tired because they put everyone into the first half. Like they tired at the end of last season because they put everyone into kind of second to third part of the season. John McLaughlin was under no pressure. There was no barrage of pressure for Celtic. It was quite the opposite. It was a kick out for us, and he's just giving it straight to. And that to me indicated a man whose confidence was shot. He thought he was to blame for 1 or 2 or maybe all 3 of the goals we conceded in the first half. Psychologically, it was really worrying. Just Alan McGregor's made horrific Ricks and what have you. Andy Gorham, we always talk about Andy Gorham, his first few games for Rangers, selling the jerseys at Tynecastle and against Hibs in the League Cup semi-final, come on to be not just the greatest goalkeeper I've ever seen, but one of the greatest Rangers players ever. But I think McLaughlin looks like, unlike the players, he hasn't got over that, whatever happened to him in the first half. He's really felt the pressure. And it's kind of melted his head. What he did for that fourth goal was indicated to me a guy who needs to be dropped, apart from anything else. Never mind. Yeah. I was one that was like, no, I'm quite happy with it. It seemed obvious to me that McGregor was going to be the backup this season. And everybody was somehow wanting rid of Alan McGregor. It's like, you've got a guy like that as backup, you hang on to him. You know what I mean? It seemed kind of silly. But I'm eating my own words. No, because I wanted to get rid of McGregor, but because I think it looks like we should have brought somebody else in.
Yeah, that's what I'm with it.
But it was Saturday that made me decide that. And, there's plenty of folk out there thinking, well, that's what you get for no back in their point of view, but the keeper in the summer. But I think the guy looks like his confidence is shot, and he could maybe do with getting dropped apart from anything else.
Yeah. Up front, obviously Cholak's been started recently with Morelos been injured. Morelos starting to come back into things now after he's sort of slapping the wrist from Gio. What are you thinking for tomorrow then? Do you think Morelos will be back in, or are we starting with Cholak?
I really don't know, man. I know I say this all the time. I know people want hard predictions and put your money where your mouth is and all that. I don't really see the point in that, because I obviously don't know. But I'm really split down the middle. Depends how we're going to play it. I think with Cholak, you would say that he looks like a guy who needs Rangers to have a lot of possession. That's not what happened in Eindhoven. He scored the winner over there. We were a fair bit of possession, but mostly we were playing kind of behind the ball rather than getting to the byline and pulling it back for the kind of stuff that he probably likes as a penalty box predator. You're thinking maybe against Ajax, we need Alfie's rolling players and kind of ragdolling guys, and the physicality and the movement, as well as his finishing isn't as good as Cholak's, but Alfie will pull out a spectacular finish. I don't know. It's just the question for me is his fitness. And obviously, Gio's going to assess that. I thought it was one of the few things that was kind of funny about Saturday was watching Alfredo totally in the doghouse with the club and with a lot of the fans for what happened at Easter Road. That's the only way he wasn't getting sent off on Saturday, was because he was like, he knew he couldn't afford another one. Else he was done. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's because he's wanting to get in the Champions League, but they're taking the abuse for 60,000 Celtic fans. Kind of, I'm no bothered. Whereas usually he's the first one to react. But I'm hoping I don't know how much fitness he can get back up without having played a full game this season. But I would put it this way: I'm actually in a situation I wouldn't be bothered who it is. I wouldn't be bothered if it's Cholak or Alfredo. I'd be quite happy with either of them. But I'd be interested to see Alfie's fitness, and I don't know that Ajax away from home is the best time to test that. So Cholak,
you've talked yourself around there.
You see my brain working there.
I seen your workings. You get extra marking for your workings. Right. So, last couple of points. Obviously it's great to be here. Great to be back in the Champions League after the last sort of 10 years, the journey, all that kind of thing. As you say, we went from the ball in the hedge to the top table via a European final, it should be pointed out, and a league championship as well. So, we're back at the big table, but it's a properly tough group. And it really is. As much as we're all loving it, it is a proper toughie. Liverpool, Ajax will obviously be favourites to qualify. You look at Napoli, they'll be tough to beat as well. What are the realistic ambitions and targets that we can get in this group? I'm looking at third if we're very lucky.
Aye, that's it. I think that's all we can realistically aim for. You know what I mean? But Gio makes you almost scared to do that. You know what I mean? We're sitting there. I switched on the telly earlier in the night, and there's Borussia Dortmund, a packed Westfalen playing Copenhagen in the Champions League. It's a team we destroyed in Dortmund last season. Is what we did to Leipzig as well. I don't know. Dare to believe, and as I say, maybe the way we're just slipping backwards domestically is an indication that these players are already targeting Europe again. that's where they want to be. We've got a lot of non-Scottish players, and I'm always suspect about that when it comes to Old Firm games. A lot of non-Scottish players who, I think anybody else in the world, it gets to me 4 times a season you're playing Celtic at least, and it's just the pressure cooker stuff. It gets to me. Never mind a guy who's just wanting to advance his career and just visiting Scotland. It can be really boring, the domestic grind. They know what they've signed up for. They should try to find a way to enjoy it. But Europe, I'm quite happy for that to bring the best out of them now, because the Champions League is where it's at. There's all sorts of political and obviously problems with the Champions League, but it's the European Cup. It's the greatest tournament in the world for me, as far as I'm concerned. It's the only one to be in. Rangers will never be satisfied until we win it. The football landscape changes all the time. You never know what can happen, especially in these straitened financial times. We can end up, the Super League could lead on to some sort of, secondary Super League, and it's us and Celtic getting promotion. You never know. We could be we just need to be champions of Europe one day. That's the thing we should always be striving for ultimately at Rangers, because if they can do it, we can certainly do it, and we should do it. So it's fantastic just to be back in here and playing about with that theory again. Fantastic to be in the same park as Ajax and Liverpool and Napoli. Diego Maradona. The next game we'll play at Ibrox is against the club in light blue shirts who retired the number 10 jersey. And the last game we played at Ibrox, we number 10 in a light blue jersey for Queen of South scored an absolute world day that Maradona would have been proud of. It's magical to be in this group, mate. It's magical to be in this company. And I just want Rangers to absolutely go for it. Give it everything. Do the run to Seville again. Go for that kind of thing again, and just get us that third place, and we'll just go and win the Europa League this season. Just live with them. I just want to live with them. And the idea of Rangers playing at Anfield, the idea of Rangers playing at Ajax again, the idea of Rangers in the Diego Maradona Stadium, the old Sao Paulo, it's absolutely gorgeous, and we all deserve it as fans, I think. And I just hope the players are as up for it as we are.
You want me to put another smile on your face, eh?
Go for it.
Real Madrid are winning 3-0. So
3-0.
There we go. 3-0. Get it up.
God, it's not even about just slagging your neighbour or what have you, and it's total Celtic behaviour to be giving it, because somebody else is doing it what we couldn't do it to them. But I think we'll find maybe something we don't want to know about Postecoglou. I was worried maybe we're sitting watching a manager who is actually continually improving, and maybe they're getting better and better. He'd get better as a manager with them last season, but they did that by shitting out of Europe. They shut out of Europe. And to me, you've got to be trying on all fronts. And the reason a lot of your domestic games are turgid is because the players don't know how to stop trying. They just can't help, be more energised for Europe. So there's a worry for me that if Celtic actually did something in the Champions League this season, then maybe we just need to wait until Postecoglou goes to Leeds United or Bournemouth or wherever he's going to go. But I've been very interested to find out how they'll get on when they're trying to cope with Europe as well. Something we've excelled in over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's good to see. But they get beat after the champions of Norway. That was the best team they'd ever seen in their life. But they're playing the actual European champions in it. So no, we'll see how we'll see how they get on when they're in the Champions League as well. When they're trying to mix Europe with the domestic situation.
That's it. So I just the reason I know is because I got a wee message on my phone there, and I thought I'll check Twitter, and so the third goals just went in. So a final point for the night, a wee bit of a disappointing one. There's been a bit of an issue with the official travel. The company behind it, CTM, have changed a lot of stuff. Club have come out and said that they'll offer a refund to supporters that can't do it now because the changes at the last minute. They're not going direct to Amsterdam anymore. I think they're going via Brussels and all this kind of stuff. A lot of anger on social media when it was announced. So I say the club have offered a discount and seem to have reacted quite quickly in dealing with some of the negative stuff, but it's still quite disappointing. And I believe it's not the first issue that they've had with CTM. I think there was a lot of issues with Seville, and it's just that feeling of when it comes to like fan engagement and what we're getting for the club, it's just they could do better. I think the supporters that have gone to these games deserve better. I think.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And this is the kind of stuff that you get in, commercial managers, business managers. You get professionals in the hope that these are the kind of things that they should be able to get right pretty easily. This is nothing to do with infrastructural changes, as we're coming back for playing in the Challenge Cup in the 3rd division. This is just your basic stuff. So they should be getting this right. A lot. Listen, it's amazing what losing 4-0 at Parkhead can do for everything at Rangers. Everything is at fault just now, so they're not helping themselves with that. Obviously, we had a lot of problems with a lot of negative feedback with the price and the way they were charging for the Champions League tickets themselves, which I thought was perfectly right. It was absolutely, a lot of it was just horrendous. So, I mean, I think the criticism was right. The club were horrendous in that. But listen, we're playing against Fenway Sport, in the Champions League, and we've got parts of Hamilton, and I'm really grateful to them. I'm really grateful to the directors that we've got, the guys that saved the club in a lot of ways when they come in. And I don't think for it to be everything they're doing is completely rang overnight, and I've always think going to anger on all fronts has been it's a thing at Rangers. I kind of ingratitude, a kind of failure for any kind of to reach any kind of context often powers us to do better. But I think a lot of times it to do better on the part, but a lot of times it actually kind of ends up being counterproductive. So we've got to kind of rein it in just now, and give the directors a bit of a chance, But that kind of stuff's not helping. So I hope everybody gets there. They get there safe and they get there back in plenty of time.
Yeah, I'd agree. Safe travels to everyone who's going to the game tomorrow. And the rest of us will just be here watching it on the telly. I'm actually playing 5-a-sides after it. I might wear my top. Who knows? Anyway, no, I don't get into that anyway, right? Trust me. Right, a big thanks to Alec. We'll call time there. A big thanks to Alec for his contribution. Great stuff as always. We were live tonight on Tuesday night. I had to think about that. I was going to say the Wednesday there. But the pod will be available to download and stream on a variety of platforms tomorrow from including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Spotify, all the usual places. Big thanks to Alec. There'll be a preview show out on Friday. I can't recall off the top of my head who's on that, but get yourself onto that. I'll be previewing the Aberdeen game on Saturday, and obviously we'll have the flagship show on Sunday covering everything from Saturday's game. In the meantime, get yourself onto the Gersnet, having a shocker of the night, the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. Until the next